Are you ready? Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name's Rita May. I'm one of the co-directors at Arts and Literature Laboratory. We're super excited that Salome put this together. And, woo, Salome! It's a great way to, I think this is our final reading of National Poetry Month. So I'm very excited you could all be here. If you're not familiar with ALL, we are all the arts for all the ages. So we do concerts, exhibitions. We're in between them right now, but normally you would see some amazing artwork on these walls. The ALL Prize by UW-MFA students just came down. It was an amazing show, but something will be up in a week, and then we'll have gallery night on May 5th, and that will also have a native art market that weekend. So there'll be 20 vendors here with some amazing work to share, and some educational components to that too. So I could tell you all the things, but I would be up here for a long time. So you should sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already. Alfonso, who's in the back, you probably saw him when you walked in, can help you sign up if you're not already signed up for that. So thank you all for coming, and I will turn it over to Salome.
Thank you. Okay, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. Hi, happy Earth Day. Welcome to the undergrad poetry reading and open mic. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you to anyone who might be tuning in on our YouTube stream. I'm Salome, my pronouns are per, pers. I'm an intern here at ALL. I'm also a senior at UW-Madison in the English creative writing program, a poet, if you will, and I'll be your host tonight. This is my first time hosting anything, so thank you. I was also gonna mention the exhibits. I was like sad that we're like in between and like the walls are barren, but feel free to come back. We have amazing events and exhibits all the time, so. But as for tonight, I want to ask all of you to join me in filling the walls with your stories and your voices. Before we start, I'd like to thank Rita May for helping me organize this event, and thank you, Jim, for doing all the tech stuff so that we could get the stream up. If you would like to participate in the open mic segment, please sign up on the piece of paper at the front table over there. You passed it on the way in. You can sign up now, or if you're inspired by one of our amazing readers tonight, you can sign up in between or after their performances. We do only have 30 minutes for the open mic, so if you plan on sharing anything, make sure that it's between like 3 to 5 minutes so that we can get enough people in. And also be mindful of the content that you're sharing, as not to spread hateful or harmful messages. But we'll get started now. While our poets are performing, please hold applause, but you may snap or react, but save applause for after. I'll be starting off by introducing our first reader, Azura, who I've had the pleasure of having a class with before. We love a scholar. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here tonight. It means the world to me. I'll read from her bio. Azura Tyabji, she, her, is a poet and performer from Seattle, Washington. She is the author of 2 collections, Stepwell, and co-author of Dear Azula, I Have a Crush on Danny Phantom. She was the 2018 to 2019 Seattle and West Coast Youth Poet Laureate. Her work centers around womanhood, Black and South Asian identity, and radical futures. She is a 13th cohort first wave scholar at UW-Madison. Please welcome Azura.
My whole bag up for some reason. Oh. Hi everybody! How are we doing on this Saturday? Everyone's feeling good. I see familiar faces in the crowd. Thank you for being here. Thank you everyone I have yet to meet for being here. Thank you to the people in the ether of the YouTube stream for being here. I'm going to be reading 3 love poems, one of which I haven't read before until today. The first love poem is called Dirty Word. No one told me I could be this, a wall against water, an island. I've been swallowing my fist and beating on desire's hull for as long as I could remember. Love was work, so I worked at it. I wrote vows to my husband, his velvet ring, his face so nice it was nothing. So one day, on the best day of my life, I'd look at him and our roses and say, yes, yes. There would be laurels when I finally decided to grow up. Or would it be marigolds? Baby's breath? Would I be there? I'm not a dyke. There's just nothing more beautiful than the whorled knuckle of a dahlia and the back of a woman's neck as she bows to drink water from my hands. Okay. Thank you. The next poem I'll read is a love poem, but I wanted to write it about someone that I hate a little bit. So I was thinking of having beef with someone as a kind of devotion, and what anger teaches me about that. This is called Ode to My Enemy, or Vultures in the Sky. Without you, I would be too permissive. Say yes long enough, and you will lose your shape. My enemy, I was your shadow hung by our ankles. I experienced new textures because of you. Dry wool over my open eyes, brick rough as you're leaving, waiting room linoleum cool as the skin in permanent dark. I found new ways of being alive through picking up after you, like a vulture dressed in semi-formal black, her bare head red and honest and swerving for what to save. Considerate and ruthless, you held my cheek the way an arrow does before it is slung and takes a piece of me with it. Who was I before I was this hungry? I would gnaw off my ankle if it meant I would be right in the end. What can the scavenger choose to let go of? I could be reasonable, like good sense mammals tell me to. I could be less angry. Being angry is very expensive because it is an appetite people like me are not supposed to have too much of. You know I tried to want less. Whispered, love, love, be patient, be joyful, into the vase, stable and empty and full of dry flowers. I sexed it away, and I read it away, and I drank it away, and I danced it away. I got dizzy, I ran it away to therapy, where they told me to go away until I was healed, handed me an abacus of glass beads and made me stitch a broken vase with gold. Handing over my grudge felt like handing over my firstborn. I worked so hard to make something I didn't even ask for. There are new, better scales to measure my being. I could be loved the way a device is loved. After all, it's a good gig being someone who forgives. When I die, I might become a saint. I'm not a difficult person, I tell myself, 2 fingers down my throat, placing peace behind my tongue like a pill, like a seed. I know how we treat difficult people. I know there is a well in my body where a yell could leap from and gut the languid air like an animal. When my beloved told me to yell, baby, just one brave, inarticulate note in the empty street, it won't harm nobody. I could not summon it. My chest was as tight as the fist of a baby. The worst thing my enemy has made me is polite. The worst dream my enemy has made me is to be the bigger person. I stretch my limbs around the whole world twice. My embrace is like the stitch over the mouth of a giant. My embrace is like treason. I wanted an enemy. I wanted someone to make a decision, to give me a purposeful life. A shape is only designed by its refusal, by what it chooses not to be, who it chooses not to let in. Time will make room for me, and my grudge, soft as sea glass, loyal as my first ever fear. Be patient with my grudge. She paces very well in the cage that she was given. My enemy, you have given me a hunting ground, something to live for. But because I have lost myself, because I have lended anger my imagination like pearls to swine, because I have searched for an apology like a scavenger, because I went lower and realized that too was a form of kneeling, because I realized I was expendable, because I groped my ribs for what useful tool was still hanging there and found a lamp with no gas, because all my fantasies became arguments and all my arguments became concessions, I will be taking my leave. The world will make room for my anger to live. When you look back over your shoulder, you will stare at me as you run. That's that one. Thank you. I hope that inspires you to stay mad about the things that matter. The last poem that I'll share is a genuine love poem for someone that I love very deeply, who you will hear from tonight also. This poem is dedicated to Diya Abbas, and it is called Dedication. We screamed in the thunderstorm, our socks sloshing with rainwater, our ears metal ringing with residual music. I wish I had screamed as free as I felt, but with you sometimes I am simply stunned, struck like the awe of lightning, the flash of your brilliance and then my cry, my laughter, my drool in your wake. I follow you, my magician, who I would let pull a knife from the layers of myself laid rest by your hand, your rigor, your empathy, fierce as good rainfall. I would burst into a year's worth of doves, for each of them knows their way home to you. You could never sate my wonder. I have watched you become a miracle many times, bent fire without scattering, seized time into moments I don't want to run from. Even on some nights, the ones that hunt for what's empty to rattle us in fear, I hold you. I bead lost silver through your earlobe like a fishhook. I would let you catch me for sport. For you have released me from the fear of getting lost. If I were to do this all over again, I would journey back to you. Before I knew you existed, I think I dreamt of you. Before you knew I loved you, I was busy wrangling the storm of language for the right words to describe something so perfect it does not disappear when I open my eyes. Before we could be together, I tossed my shadow around the tightening corners of each month in hopes I would walk into you sooner. I slept with you on the phone, becoming more and more sure I would wake with you on the other side. There is worship with less certainty than this. Now, the distance that kept us is trampled beneath our feet. Now, I hold your face with the distance of a single breath. Inside, you curl like the genesis of smoke. And now I am certain, I am devout, towards the freckle riding your Cupid's bow, how you write small enough so no one else can read it. You sleep with one hand always touching me. Even in the weeks I could not touch you, I survived off memory, and that was enough. I'm so spoiled now. I could sow an orchard in the fruit of your name. Each time I tried to translate a storm into language, just to get a little closer to saying how you have made me feel, how we have made it this far. I love you so much that I could scream. Thank you.
Wow. I'm always amazed every time. Please give it up one more time for Azura. Thank you. Next up, we have Diya, who I saw post on IG that they have new poetry for us. Thank you for choosing all to debut it. I'll read from Diya's bio. Diya Abbas, she, they, is a first-generation Pakistani poet. They were named the 2020 St. Louis Youth Poet Laureate and the 2022 George B. Hill Poetry Prize winner. Their work has been featured or forthcoming on the Offing, Bar Mag, Illumination Journal, the American Library of Poetry, Button Poetry, and Respire Mag. Diya is currently studying creative writing and psychology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison through the First Wave program. Please welcome Diya.
Thank you, Salome, for the introduction and for making this event possible. I feel very soft right now from that poem. I don't know why Azura would read that right before it made me all emotional. Yeah, this is a very special reading. This is my last time in a while that I'll be reading next to Zach Lesmeister, who isn't just my friend from St. Louis. They were my first real teacher in poetry, my roommate, and my family. So this poem is for them. This is 22 love letters for Azura, after Adrienne Rich's 21 love poems in the dream of a common language. 1. In every city, attention flickers. Another screen, another manipulation of visions. Suicide hangs on our lashes, bending a trigger with a glance. We also have our hands, which twitch for another digital impossibility. Facade of the muses. How terrible a craving. How terrible the human verb. I know how alive we are under the guise of your jasmine notes. Before our love is digitized into something two-dimensional, I'll tell you how I refuse to pay attention to ghosts when I know how to walk through them. No one has imagined us the way Rich intended, yet we are still defending our dignity to a nation that beholds us for our selling parts. We want summers on fire, the right kind, not the funeral before the exhale, not the casket before the tree. We want hearts that slick like callus behind danced heels, not the electric kind, not the kind where we are reduced to a company slogan, not much more than alive. I have to tell you something about this. 2. Only some people know my name, the one I love with, the name that writes poems about you, about hours in my car we spent learning how to exhale again and again until we ate up all the air in the car, until I had to reach into your mouth to catch my breath. I don't expect to wake up with you every morning. We work until we learn the right lessons, how to hand over the wrist to the mouth, to part the flower for the seed. There were no pictures of us for months, hidden in each other's journals, in notes you left by the bedside table for me to read in the morning, before we greeted a bitten world, the unspirited ghost of a passive language, the cold whip of fear, the slur that spits down backs and backs and backs of history. It used to be so much more cruel than this. You don't ask me about it. You find a better poem. 3. Since we are young, I promise you every good thing I know. Everything tells me my passion cannot outlast another September in Iowa. We believe in living images, not stars, not an expected future, but one we can work for. Olive oil between blades, citrus candles, Nina Simone. No one can tell me we won't live forever. 4. Home from the market with croissant bread in record time. Spring in Wisconsin. No one sees the sun except me. your hands on fire when you let me through the door. If I pick up the phone, there is a world trying to eat us, and I am too lazy with language to say their names. Instead, another craving of sweet bread made from your spit. On the phone, my sister, countries away, tells me we will be happy someday. I tell her, trust in the imagination of the lover and survive in every nation. There is nothing we have not deserved. I know girls where I'm from have limits. I know girls older than us who never made it to an age where their love was alive enough to be validated. My passion spills red onto your bed. You do not make me apologize for the sheets. 5. The first thing we filled in our house was the bookshelf, so only the best language could hold a knife to our backs. Then another mulled night. Everyone was home then. Zach showed me the book with photos of my ancestors, homoerotic, wearing black clay under their eyes like me. I do not look at them for longer than I can honor them. The clean knife of freedom takes its time to reach my mouth. I would be lucky to have such an honor. Warm wine with cinnamon fruit, imagine. A base we can feel under our skin, imagine. They hold hands behind closed doors, triple locked for centuries. All their unwritten fervor. I bow to their silence. 5. Your hands much smaller than mine, capable of turning the angle of the sun away from my eyes. Nature gawks at the God in you. Your sound a seed that carves its roots into outlines of dirt, ovals and pears. All your sacral gifts. I could trust the world at hands like these, capable of cleaning the gut out from our ugliest futures, of kneading the truth out from my acres of armor, the hair on my arms, the history between my legs, leaned against the walls of your hips. Our stories, convincing enough for the fates to tie a thread between us. 7. What kind of woman would turn love into a beast that defends its own glory? What kind of sacrifice does a good glory demand? Like a god, everything I write is too late. Nothing comes close to the sound of women defending their wounds to the wild earth. Nina said, our heart is barely ours, plastic and owned. I owe it to you to bring blood back to the arteries of women gone purple from work. I have used women for their work so that I can try to articulate them. Drafts that turn surviving into living. A line where the lie cannot survive, where not even a song is necessary to strike them into dance. Drafts of wild music, drafts of wild need, where there is no line between imagination and action. Here lies a different exhalation. 8. Years back in Iowa, my mother and I, counting the wet lashes of language, a form of power I tried to mimic and could not. I limped through the cruel fields of wheat and saw to a city where I found my name between the stainless arch. Everyone in St. Louis was made of silver. This new city, flooded with your name, and after, the neighbor's dog looked like a wet cherry. After our first call, every night became yours, sky blue. This time, I couldn't die until I knew the sweet taste of your living, until I learned how to paint books with our blood slick pretty, until every watershed filled with our want, until our promises were not futile, and every scar was from your hands, small ovals you draw on my skin, a promise, a language. 9. Today, your silence is a lock. I have smelted my hands to fit your answers. The rusted key, the gold lock with your siblings' faces. I did not need to know them to pray for their footsteps. A kind of love that prompts worship, domesticity, non before GMO, made from scratch. How my mother and her mother annotated memory until it worked. For both our sullen and fervid angels. For the lines of unhonored women wrapping around each country. Everything shows me everything I would do for you. For once, part the field. For once, say it out loud. 10. The animal in captivity eats her cub due to stress or malnutrition. Echoes of inadequacies ring through makeshift deserts, plastic homes. In the head of all good mothers is doubt. Like my mother, I have always relied on the plan. On our date, there are no mathematics. Our reduced pulse would not allow for a calculated beat. Starvation also begs in the heart. Without love, we are all trapped in captivity. 11. Every property of energy started from a woman's touch. It was Eve who touched the fruit and generated the action of our worlds. You prefer grapefruit and nonfiction. I dislike science, although it has kept generations of women alive over language. Natural duty. We do not need laws to stop a woman from noticing another woman's tender arches. All kinds of atomic exchange. Our heads side by side in sleep. Exchange of dreams. Your small gold gods chasing mine in the meadow of our bedroom. I cannot repel all formulas because chemistry proves all the ways I will reach for you in every remaking of this world and the next and the next. 12. After my friend died, my mother said, we only start praying when something bad happens. Even though her God wanted me dead, 2 women of one need, I prayed just in case it would bring me closer to you. I prayed just in case it would bring me closer to impossibility, 2 women of one gender. Only with you, I'm able to reach the place of dreams. 13. The hands of the clock cave in, hugging us in time. Quicksilver spills through the clouds like a guitar solo. We are in a country with no rules, no consequence to how bodies lean into their desired partners. The music draws in a slow grind storm. My J's sloshed with rainwater. I do not remember anyone's face. The prophets keep a halo around us, scarlet, bronze. All I know is your dark curl, your face an angle of God. The bass without a voice, the fall without fear. There is no start and end to this dance. 14. Burnt city on our hips, we wash off together, standing in your bathtub. One side of our body missed by the shower faucet. I never felt closer to you. Sometimes, my youth convinces me we are safe. I concentrate on always, but reach it almost. Huddled between your chest, I can look into the cold concrete steps of the Capitol, where couples kiss and do not look behind their lover's neck after. After, a man yowled with threats of history. After, your hands grip mine with admittance. Never a defeat. The sun surrenders a kiss to half of us, our one body. Clean from the dirt of a burrowed life, our porcelain dignity, firing under the eyes of any city that has something to say. 15. Sleep kept its surrender local to my bedroom. Nowhere my eyes would stop staking the scene until Madison, after the river and the crystal shop Zach took us to, exhausted from the winds that drove out of me and into your ear. Every angel number that found us at that near-death collision, we kept laughing even after. For once, the failure of safety was not a mistake. Half asleep on the couch, my eyes closed into the meat of your neck. For once, not a mistake. 16. Across the Missouri River, the storm came down as stones just as the book had written it. My sisters and brothers muddied the grass with silvers and reds, gone to the affliction of desire. Before you, there was no other place for us, silent and sullen. Scripture we once lived to prove wrong. Letters I wrote to God, collecting dust on my desk, the prayer mat folded like an ear. Fear looks different in the moonlight. When jinns come to hide under the trees every night, I took hits for every curse in my body until smoke ashed itself to shame. Now, lying by your side, I do not count the price of falling asleep to music, closer to the spirit of belief. I never would have guessed to have found such a holier rain over a holier body under a holier moon. Azure, Azil, under your sky, I do not flinch, but wait to fall. 17. Every room we walk in is with authority to avoid authority, like a diagnosis. Backs lean against backs of history, an inconspicuous stagger, a swagger of faces. Women who love women learn lessons of the cruel quickly. Our silence is how we survive longer. Wolf and rabbit, this is not a fable. None of it was an accident. Fear is a small death that brings oblivion. Obliteration is love relinquished. No tightened fists. Imagine our love as instructive as force. This force within us and against us and within us. 18. It is time to stop celebrating and time to pick up the torch, to put down the torch and beg for forgiveness, to make a decision and ask for forgiveness later, to tell the story of your life and make your mind up later. You are now a fugitive of every nation. This time, neutrality cannot serve you against a digital face. You cannot tell the story of your life on the day of judgment because this would be a lie. It is time to feel the estrangement of a language and reach for more than the love fabled to us as children. I feel estranged, yes. The fall of daybreak and no one has called to tell me the story of their day. We are closer to hell than we think. Every day we coax this world with winks of good and well. I cannot settle for a misuse of our only arsenal. Between anger and admiration is fear, where I am Diya, alone, growing stronger. 19. Can it be growing stronger when I begin to forget my phone the longer I touch you? The internet cannot handle us, dead or alive. I feel the anger of winter every summer. Somewhere someone dies for a dream. Rich tells us in a dream or in this poem that there are no miracles. I disagree. This ordinary life, where I am with you, is a miracle farther than my ancestors' wildest dreams. We owe it to them to dream awake. Miracles take work, heroic as the fiercest meat eater. There is only one person I would like to share this meal with. 20. You choke me the way the ground is good to its girls, with necessity. For generations, the hurt of its news, girls that tremble like a good grief under the Indus or the Mississippi. It is the tide, an uninhibited, endless collision of the underbelly where there is safety. At the neck of all good girls is a chance to go deeper into oneself by going deeper into another body where no one can hear us begging for more. 21. I never imagined how far I could go with a good God spit on my upper lip, that I would keep going towards the angel numbers that rose from dawn and death, past this world of seasons and names and language, but a place in the mind shared by two people. This circle, a deep wound, an open sky, starts and ends with your fingers. 22. This time sex ends as a letter to you, explicit and numbered, recorded and rich. Whatever happens is already an honor. Your mouth the beginning of the page. You have made me less of a bad thing. I know now that there is such a thing as sweetness inside of me. There is not a day I do not wait for your chest in my mouth, how they turn my empty caves into a city of umbras. My hands have traveled to places of dreams. Just the thrusted outline of pleasure is enough to turn our wildest imaginations into action. I knew I wanted you before I even met you. I knew to wait on the sun, for that pull greater than the largest recorded miracle of science. You are a force larger than invention, the miracle after every death. It was between your small hands, your generous thighs, between which my face entered and never left. There is nothing left of me you have not touched with your careful eyes. Only you could tempt me with this life. History will remember how it felt to love you. I choose to begin with this. Thank you.
Well, don't stop the applause. Give another round for Diya. Thank you. For our last performance, we have the lovely Zach, who I also had several classes with, and I can firmly say that their poetry is just as or even more impactful than their outfits. So I'll read Zach's bio also. Zach Lesmeister, they, them, is a mixed queer Vietnamese-American poet from St. Louis. They are the 2017 Youth Poet Laureate of St. Louis. Zach is a recipient of the George B. Hill Poetry Prize, Charles M. Hart Jr. Writers of Promise Award, and the Philip H. Wong Memorial Prize in Poetry. They are also a 2021 semifinalist for the Pablo Neruda Prize for Poetry, as well as a Pushcart Prize nominee. Zach is a first-wave scholar at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, studying creative writing, and will be beginning their MFA in poetry at ACU in the fall. Their work is published in the Offing, The Margins, Nimrod, and others. Please welcome Zach.
Hello, everyone. Let me adjust this. I'm normally not this tall. Thank you so much, Azura and Diya, for such wonderful poems. I will be reading a series of short poems from my senior thesis titled Agate. This first poem is Crossing. A white priest catches my uncles fleeing the school. Kneeling on durian, they beg a white god for forgiveness, still believing that their choir is stronger than a single prayer, when the spikes open 100 mouths in them. In the midst, a pond, muddy, a lotus, white like rice. My mother snaps the pod, cracks the husk. A seed is a marrow, edible wood. She eats, bone and all. There's a tree inside my mother. An American plucks the leaves. Grandma sees a man climb a palm tree to get a better view of the plains. A metal bird drops yolk on him. His body erodes until just the bones, bright as eggshells. Everyone in my family has learned this lesson about light, flight, fight. This is Storage Unit with Anonymous. I knew he wanted welcome, so I unrolled the rug of my tongue. Dirty me, and he shatters me like I want. His hands globed around the head of hunger, smashing into a future tense till the bright drip of Luna. In the storage unit, the rosary is snaked from the kneeling drain. As his pelvis stutters, the breath of divination effacing the ranks of boxes. He digs, and I bark back the lineage of frost racing down my throat. In the unit, where he pays to forget, at the cost of feral, I know his language without knowing his name. He knows me as the doll he sparks with each fracture in the cast of my crimson lip. He named me, Hanoi Hannah, femme fuck in the unit, exotic storage, all the names he gave for me to beget him and exit, something to bind and forget. I wasn't his, but for the night, I was ornamental. I pretend his gold band was mine, that I was the wife he left in storage, coming to visit, with the slow jade of his iris etching me royal. Dynasty bright, in a satin jockstrap. With permission, I'm desolate, emptied as the night I enter with shame. This next poem is Apotheosis. How dare you do this to me? Pinprick my want, permission thin as skin. Lover, what oracle guided you to me and fractured me, warm? I was guttural until you disassembled me in the workshop of your bed. The bed sheets in the corner huddle into a cross as you beat me into that December morning. Harder, lover, I can take it. The crop is no more tame than the earth it comes from. I want it broken as an apostle, to remember your stroke of desire calling me in, the stain you left, your sinew obelisk marbling me in musk. Mark me yours. I know who I belong to. Show me again when you say this is mine, with the clot of blood rising to applause on the summit of my neck. At dinner, I'll jewel the bruise with gold you gave me, with carats of dulcimer, the wooden sticks hammering out the airs and sound. Lover, my piano, my pain, hit where you know no turns its face into ecstasy, into pleasure, with a candle of 2 wicks, the wax evaporating at the tinge of flame. I don't. I melt at the cusp of my own palms, under my cheek. I know where you want me, darling, smelted until desire eats you feral. Have me all. This next poem is Queer Femme Birth Sequence. My spine kissing a stone table. In the middle of the night, my legs arch like 2 crescent moons, a candle cupping darkness. Everything in the bedroom is humming. It begins now. My ghost womb, my ghost labor. I was pregnant for so many years before I evicted that fetus. I said, you have to come out. And like all children, it wailed a siren song. Please, let me stay in the warmth. You won't even notice me. But I'm done with ache and longing. So I pull it from me, the one hiding in my throat. I say the words and here you are, and everything in the bedroom rumbles. The chinos frenzy and burst into flames. The polo shirts panic and tear themselves apart. The leather briefcase shrieks and rewinds back into a calf. So much crying for wasted time. No more. I'm angry for every moment I kept you inside me. You have to live. I need you to. My ghost child is in the corner hugging the calf, crying. I say, I'm doing this for you. As I slit my palm with a rusted blade, opening and closing my hands, the wound blowing me kisses, my ghost child says, kill me. I'm sorry, but not enough. I take the piss yellow parchment and sign the birth certificate with the kiss my wound makes. My child with no name. Whatever it reads, my ghost says, ignore it. I'm going to read one more poem. And this poem is called Michael, December 24th, 1985, and it's for my father. The snow is falling, light outside, bliss. 2 a.m, driving home, drunk, the windshield a song of skull and glass, blood abyss. There's no one inside the 1974 Thunderbird. There's nothing amiss. His veins are glittering, light. The snow is falling, light outside, bliss. Michael collapses at the front door, fingers like brittle little sticks smashing against reluctant metal. He stains everything, his blood fluorite, blood abyss. It wasn't the crash that took your life. Death took your heart and kissed it 17 years later. As quick as memory, you were gone. As quick as the stoplight, bliss. I remember you like shattered glass, bits, you pushing me in a wheelbarrow, face bleached by sunlight of blood, abyss, it all decays. I wish I knew how to miss you. How foul is memory to replace a synapse with shattered light, bliss, turns into song, skull, blood, abyss. Thank you.
Thank you. Please give it one more round of applause for our lovely readers tonight. Thank you so much for coming. It was so amazing. Now it's time for our open mic segment. First up, we have Maria Fries.
First wave.
Hey guys, these poems, I've two of them and they're written about my mom. I've been really exploring the idea of the trilogy, the trinity of goddesses, which is maiden, mother, crone. So these ones are mother and crone because I'm just a maiden, so. This is Marguerite Shaw. She has birthed two beings with only her pelvis and muscles and Monica the midwife. She knelt in the living room, wrapped in my great-grandmother's red blood shawl, a woman I never knew. And she screamed, like only women can do. She had an electric shock sent through her brain once. And I wrote a poem to read, knelt at her feet. The second time I made a playlist, bowed by her bed, felt too much like a curtain call this time. So she had rise up this morning and smile with the rising sun. She doesn't know why her brain doesn't work with her, why it's work for her, and neither do I. And neither does Monica, the midwife, only says, "You have a daughter." Mother of mine was a daughter once too. She is a daughter still. I think I sometimes forget. Told me she always wanted to see the temples in India, that if I go, it will be close enough for her. She grows tomatoes on thick, wired vines in the backyard. Somehow, the red fruit trusts her touch, even in the frost of Minnesota spring. And she dances like a fool in the living room at night. How could anyone not love reggae music, she says, and she cries and spins around again. Mom giggles like she hasn't had lightning in her brain. She teaches me that trees talk to her in the woods, and there are fairy lands behind boulders. Mom doesn't have Marguerite Shaw anymore, my namesake, but she does see Grandma in shooting stars, and I wish on the stars for my mom to stay here until morning, at least. And then this one is the crone one, and it's named Winged Body of Mine. I weave whispers of my life in the sweaters of my descendants, if I have them. Don't know how much my bloodline matters after me. We are all red, thick bloodlines, bloodshed from mother of mother's womb. I find pleasure in the creases of my mom's face, in the evidence of her growing older, the way my grandma's skin pulls away from her jaw, wanting to become soil again. We weren't always earth beings. I was once winged body spirit ghost before Halloween 2003 and the labored pains and All Souls Day. Before that still, I was starred body, a red giant, 10,000 times our sun. And it was nice to be a star, Mom taught me, witches from a wrinkle in time, more time. It was hard to say goodbye to my molten core and my wings. Being landbound is a sacrifice. White threads of hair, children holding my arms to help me down the street is not a devastation. It is a triumph. It is my white hairs in their sweaters acting as their heartstrings, white hairs as shoelaces, and a love letter. When my frail joints are ready to be replaced by wings, and moms already have, nebula together. With my descendants, I have them, and my ancestors, that I do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Next up, we have Saul. Did I say that right? No, please tell me how to say it. My name is Saul. Saul, thank you. Please welcome Saul up to the stage.
Hello everybody, my name is Sol, and this is my first time reading poetry. So yeah, I'm a little nervous, but this first one is called Cicada Season. The solstice marked the peak, the longest day of the year. Tried to sleep, but I could only hear the long, drawn-out, ringing vibration. Pests. Deafening echoes call to create reverberate as we lay. Calls rang through the beginning of fall. The seasons change, and this July, the air is colder. The trees quieter, more empty. I mount anew, a husk I leave behind, to crawl through the ground to be found. I long for the brightest day, which this year feels shorter. I pray it won't take another to feel alive. I'll read one more. This one is called Homesick. Burrs stuck in my feet and my legs. Blood drips slowly down my skin. I've walked and trudged far. The blood is dried and encrusted on my skin. Rust and crimson, a souvenir of where I've been. I journeyed far away, looking for something better, but nothing quite matched the spark that lit the furnace, the fire that was carefully tended, and the warmth that emanated through our thawing, cold hands. Thank you.
Well, tonight's a night of many so much soul. Next we have AK Colt. Thank you. Please welcome them to the stage.
Hello. Cupid's face, made from stone, decapitated, mounted as the fountainhead, spits a stream of water which arches and frames park grass, open in the horizon, adorned with picnic tables, shelters, willow trees, and the occasional lion. Black specks leap in the distance, additional focus transcribes taxonomy, adjust their shape, fur, whiskers, bushy tail. Shadows remain in vogue without clarification. It's obvious. Another silhouette follows a lilac bush, and the woman reading a critique of pure reason builds her profile atop the concrete, alone with what remains. Love and impervious, marketed as moral superiority, when broken words amounts to failure. Art, a blanket term for the human condition, subjective yet conforming to mass appeal, and the same melodies sung among capitalist creatures. Miracles, yes. Shadows are hallucinations built to censor questioning of what remains when the lights go out. So I'm here to, first off, I'm glad the poetry scene's in good hands. You guys are awesome. You know, I love the undergrads. That's cool. I got a new book out called The Corpse of the Culture Vulture. It's which is out of Jersey. Jersey's got a great poetry scene that's building right now. The Voices Out of the Garden, it's like a special that they're doing with PBS there. They're looking for applications, which would be perfect for y'all. If you're interested in that, you know, look that up. And I got a sale for $5 if you want one. And then I'll just read one more. So it's really here. The highway is taunted by oblivion, against shifting in politics for tragic ends. Attempts in forward days make tomorrow a moment of thought. Is this anything at all? Candles dress the air in flames. Mirrors move mountains. Dirty prayers stage exits. TV channels apprehend the color spectrum, trade vows with Wi-Fi. What does the end mean? Daydreams make rehearsals. Daydreams are rehearsals. Is this an end? Rats are stagnant lovers, fur-drenched, helming squeals to infiltrate spaces, sanctioned as apex fixtures, as building shadows. In the end, these rodents contain no names. Bellflowers chime, faces hidden among the tree bark laugh at mind matter. Golden stages, herein multiple shines transpire. A rat's tooth catches light through a sewer grate, traveling along a sewage stream. Fire mitigated to take down the building's shadows. A dollar bill scapegoated for its value mounts a tree branch. It lodges inside a splinter, jutting out where the leaves grow. It remains disguised, admired like foliage, promised in cycles, proving money doesn't grow on trees, but it will find a way to be on top. Thank you.
Thank you so much. it's 8 p.m., but we have one person signed up. Can we keep going? Okay. The next person, I'm sorry, I can't really read it. Is it Dayon? Zion? Zion. Okay, please welcome Zion up on the stage.
Thank you, you too. When I first set out to write this poem, it was supposed to be about love and loss, but what I ended up writing was a poem about what I thought was love and loss, and it's called Yesterdays. If I were to die today, would I think of yesterday and be proud of the life I have lived thus far? Would I leave this world with no regrets, or for all the life I have left to live, or the thoughts I have left to think? Would I die a happy man? When I think hard, in my mind appears the summer of humid nights in conversation with the boy I befriended, his lover he had left in Paris. How he showed me how longing could feel. I reminisce a summer romance with a curly-haired boy who I left too soon, and how I would stop myself if I could. I'm reminded of my work and how I lived to do it, and late nights when I wouldn't go home. He would lie with his mother and meet me in secret, those summer nights when I wasn't alone. When I think of summer, I think of hammocks shared, books read, tattoos inked, dead lake flies on the windowsill, and of lonely nights when sanities were tested. If I were to die today, would I think of yesterday and feel something? From the ashes of a summer now gone, colder nights, appears a boy with dark hair I cared more than I'd like to admit. How his friend told me that windy night, leaving soon, carpe noctem, and how he left so sudden on that cold winter day, holding hands, but only looking. How the screams ringing in my brain turned to serenades when we were together after the death of my friend. I never showed how much I cared while he was here, but I felt so much. If I were to die today, would I think of yesterday? Do I keep thinking, or is it too hard? I may not have felt love, but if I were to die today, I would feel warm summer nights with the man I thought I loved. Dead flies on the windowsill. Conversations with the boy who he had left in Paris. Because if I were to die today, I would not think a single thought, but feel every feeling I have ever felt from every person who has ever made me feel. And with that thought, I would feel joy at the very end and embrace my maker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zion. Is there anyone else that would like to go? What's your name? Pierce. Please welcome Pierce up to the podium.
Hello, I'll be reciting two poems on the topic. I thought, in spirit of this soiree, I'd oblige and talk about love because I think all poems are about love. But the first poem is a chiasmic quatrains. I say this because it's meant to be read, not recited. But the first quatrain introduces two inverse thoughts that are justified in the next two stanzas. I know the snow was falling straight the day I fell in love with you. I know I was falling too when winter vitrified the dew. Because I sported through the woods to sublimate my virgin sighs, and everywhere I turned my gaze, the flakes fell softly in my eyes. Because I bent my soul upon the glassy murmur on the boughs, and in my heart I heard the noise of nuptial bells and wedding vows. This second poem, also on the topic of love, is predicated on an allusion to capital L love. I often watch her walk among a crowd, head bowed, ensorceling a casual glimpse or two from errant eyes, no more than one of her sex is accustomed to attract. And meanwhile, in the prism of the mind, I see the image of a scattered scene, as of flickerings on an age-forgotten screen. A foam-flung Aphrodite ambulates across the Grecian shore, seeking slumbers beneath the bowered honeysuckle boughs that skirt the surf. I take a closer look. Two pairs of blithesome limbs, one giving stride to blithesome plashes on the strand, the other split between a pair of prudish postures. One hand mantles the memories that makes her paragon of paramours. The other veils the fructifying womb that makes her woman. Etymologize pudendum, and sour the briny air with pressures so radical to the female psyche that they can make even Venus ashamed of her nakedness, can cause her to bow her head among a crowd of crownless men. And so I wonder as she wanders by, when Venus breached the spermy womb and breathed her first, every idling passerby devote himself utterly to the sight? Was every eye affixed? Was every mind a prism refracting idyllic love like mine? Was Aphrodite Pandemos birthed twice, once in the cradle of the sea, and once again in the coruscating mind of a poet too proud to divert consecrated gaze? Can one man define what failed to arrest his peers, such that it lasts for 1,000 years? Or is she only love itself to me? Thank you.
That is really impressive. I could never. Is there anyone else really quickly? Anyone else? Okay. I know that some people wanted me to read. So if you would give me a minute of your time before you go. I didn't know if I should read my poems, but I'll read one that I'm working on for my senior thesis. And then I'll read a poem by Ross Gay for Earth Day, in honor of Earth Day. So I'll start with my own poem. It's a movie, Thelma and Louise, so if you haven't seen it, I think you should watch it. If you have, rewatch it. And the title is You Can Keep It Moving If You Don't Look Down. It's from the last line of the script. It's from a B.B. King song. Okay. You can keep dedicated to the girls, gays, and theys. I believe Thelma and Louise live. Fade to white means hope, not endings. Their stories are not finished. Our TV screens simply can't accommodate them. I can see them driving into that vermilion sunset now, and I can hear them telling, we don't have to follow, we just have to leave. Hal wasn't supposed to save them. They didn't need saving. And they weren't supposed to tie the knot with JD or Jimmy. There are no happily ever afters with the things that confine you. All Louise needed was to hear Thelma say, let's keep going. Hand in hand, holding on for possibilities that lie beyond the canyon. I'm here to tell you the same thing, and I'll hold your hand as I say it. That's it. Thank you. This Ross Gay poem. It's called Thank You by Ross Gay. Half naked and barefoot in the frosty grass, hearing again Earth's great sonorous moan that says, you are the air of now and gone, that says all you love will turn to dust and will meet you there. Do not raise your small voice against it, and do not take cover. And pull your toes into the grass. Watch the cloud ascending from your lips. Walk through the garden's dormant splendor. Say only thank you. Thank you. And if you weren't tired of me hearing me say it, thank you all for coming and taking the time to come out tonight. Tuned in on me. Thank you for being vulnerable to share at the open mic. And have a good night. Safe travel if you're going home or if you're going to the club. That's it. Thank you all so much.